Hey, what's going on?
What's up, everybody?
Good to see you, man.
You as well. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween to you as well. I completely, every time I hear Happy Halloween today, I completely forget it's Halloween, and then somebody brings it up again. I'm like, oh, that's right, and then it just slips my mind like 2 seconds later. It's
Hell, yeah. Halloween's kind of like a 2 week celebration in the States, it seems like. So,
yeah, like, I'll be out. I'm like, why is that person like dressed in fake blood? Makes literally no sense. And then I'm like, oh, that's a holiday right now. Uh,
right.
Evan, what's going on, man?
How are you, Noah?
Good, good,
Good to see you, brother.
good to see you as well. Greg, how's it going, brother? How you doing?
Good. How y'all doing?
Good, man. Good. Good to see you again.
Yeah,
Um,
likewise.
Yeah, so right now it looks like the I feel like the attendance didn't send out properly. Looks like we just have us four right here. Um, but either way, we can just kind of dive in. We have like 63 people on the list. I don't know, did it not?
That's so strange. I can see because I know Ken was thinking about coming, or he was telling me he was going to be available.
Yeah,
Um, and I'd like for you guys to chat. He's been one of my really good buddies for a really long time.
yeah, hit him up.
Yeah. I'll put myself on mute.
Al's hopping in here.
Oh,
Make a quick little Instagram story and see should get some more people to flood on in here. Yeah, usually we have like 20, 30 people in here, but it's pretty light today, which could be also really cool too. I'm completely fine with that. We could do a just do like more like intimate role play because a lot of salespeople here, so that could be really cool. Let's see. No live. Cool. That should get a few people to trickle back in. Awesome. Ismail, no problem. I'll see when you get back. Cool. With that said, let's not waste any time. I'll be monitoring people as they're potentially hopping in here. But either way, for today's call, let's just do some open format Q&A style. Sometimes we'll do business breakdowns. Sometimes we'll do obviously role play, sales coaching, stuff like that. But today, let's go straight into some open source Q&A, and this could even be kind of like a mini coaching call today. So it's like Vince is hopping in here too. Um, so cool. Yeah. So with that said, what questions do you guys have for me? It can be sales, as you guys know. For anyone who is new here, what's up, Vince? And
what's up, bro?
not much, man. Not much. Happy Halloween. See, now Nikki reminded me. I'll start with everybody. Uh, but yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, I think there's a few new people in this call today. Yeah, the purpose of these calls is just strictly to learn different high ticket skills. I've been in the industry now for about 7-ish years, probably more. Kind of been there, done that, seen everything. I've been, as a head of client success or head of client experience, 60th fastest growing company in the US, worked one-on-one with over 1,000 high ticket coaches. My goal here is to just give back and add as much value as possible. So with that said, guys, what questions do you have for me?
Anybody?
I got one. I'm curious, Noah, just, outside of like a technical perspective, I feel like you've been a leader in your company and a leader on many teams before.
Mhm.
Um, how do you approach like leadership in a company? What do you think like makes for strong leadership for people that like teams that like really like can follow you and kind of just like not need to ask too many questions, but really just kind of like follow your lead?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, great question, man. So this is a very layered question, right? So I'll keep it high level, but I'll kind of break down a few different points on this. And this applies for sales leadership, setter leadership, business leadership, market. It doesn't really matter what department you're in. It's the same core principle. Pretty much every team I've ever been a part of has been like ride or die, whatever team I've been on. A few things. One is really like understanding the core values behind what it is that you're doing and living by those and only bringing in people who also live by those core values. Right. So from there, so for example, at Client Evolve, we have very strict core values. It's like EVOLVE, right? And through those core values, what we're always looking to do is like when we built them, it's like, for example, E is every client success is our success. V is venture beyond with each edition. So every person we bring in needs to bring us further ahead. O is over deliver with clear expectations, right? So there's a few things, right? So first, making sure that the core values, like the pillars of your business and the culture of which you operate, and you can have core values in your own team as well. It doesn't need to be the company's core values, but creating core values that align with both the team, yourself, and everyone else. And then from there, taking those and like calling out giving positive affirmation where you see people following those values. Right. So that's one huge thing that I do. Right. So it's like if somebody's like over delivering with and they set clear expectations, like, hey, thanks for like over delivering. That was awesome. Thank you for setting those clear expectations. On the other side, if somebody's like, let's say they over delivered, but they didn't, they did not create clear expectations, or they didn't over deliver for a client. It's like, hey, okay, so here's the situation that happened. You can see the direct outcome of this. What do you think the outcome would have been if you actually over delivered and did this instead? Right. And then from there, it's like, always leading with not a, like an iron fist, but it's like a respect based and like also a culturally aligned based leadership style. I know that's kind of a lot, but to sum it down into like one core principle I always lead with, and this just helps build respect amongst team members as well, is realizing that there's always a why behind the what. Right. So anytime someone does something or they say something, that's why, or there's a reason why they said it. That's what they did. But why did they do it? Right. So like let's say like somebody's done it during a team meeting, they look pissed off and they leave the meeting early. Right. They didn't just decide to be pissed off and leave the meeting early. There's a why behind that. Right. So good. One of the things that's helped me a lot as a manager and leader is just like try to understand all perspectives, helping everyone understand the perspective of what's going on, and then making sure to create that picture of alignment to say like, hey, if we all did this instead, we will continue to move the business forward. Do we all agree? Cool. Now we're going to hold each other accountable in order to do that. Right. So for example, let's say you're managing like a sales team, right? And there's, you have a sales rep who's really pissed off at a media buyer, like on the marketing side, because that media buyer is just not like, they're not transparent with the marketing metrics. They're really slow to respond. So you get on a meeting and the marketing director or the media buyer is pissed off and your sales rep is pissed off. Right. And, or the media buyer's annoyed and the sales rep's pissed off. And they both just like, let's say, get in an argument, the meeting ends. Right. Well, you could just either let that go or say both of you guys, you're immature or, you're both fired. You're not handling this. If you could take a moment to try to understand the why behind their actions, or the why behind the what, then you can actually help to create a better, clearer picture of like, how can we realign moving forward, right? So you could just say like, hey, so, like, why are you so frustrated with marketing, right? Or, they'll go into a whole spiel. What they do is the what is never always justified, right? But when you understand the what, you can then lead with compassion. I know there's a lot of what's and whys going on here. You guys following?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. I know it's always a weird concept to explain, but if you can, like, so from here, now that you understand the what this person did, right, by better understanding the why they did it, you can then say, okay, cool. So, well, first, I understand where you're coming from, and I'm going to validate where you're at. But what you did was not the right way to approach that, and because of that, this is the reprimand that comes from that, right? But moving forward, I understand, so moving forward in these types of situations, let's do XYZ instead. Because again, what is the overall goal here? We're all trying to align behind this, right? And by you doing this, that's out of alignment with XYZ. It's out of alignment with the core value. It's out of alignment with the main mission, the main goal of the business. So let's circle back and realign, right? The one thing I've noticed is the best leadership and management and the best culture is not built during times of fruitfulness, right? If the business is doing really, really well, right? Everyone on the teams is top performing. Yeah, great. There's momentum going in the right direction, but you're not really building any sort of culture. You're not building like a level of like trust, right? And because the second something breaks, it's like, okay, is this person actually going to be there, right? So I would always say, like, anytime you're leading or anytime, and I hope this is answering your question because it was kind of a broad question. I'm kind of hitting like a million different little principles that I follow by. But the main thing that I always try to do is try to understand the why behind a what, and then always try my best to align the entire team behind the main mission and the main vision. And that's why it's so important to have people on the team who align behind culture and align behind the mission, right? That's when people say it's culture over everything. I used to manage a 13-person client success team. We were doing $1.6 million a month, or we were managing over 1,000 active clients. Excuse me, not 1,000 active at one point, but over 3 years, we managed over 1,000 clients. And through that time, like, there was obviously ups and downs to that process, but then the main thing that kept us all like in alignment and kept the team respecting me and trusting me is always having their back, right? But also always being honest and transparent with them when they did something that was out of alignment with the team culture or the mission, right? And from there too, like anytime we've ever made a hire for skill over culture, it always backfired. It always hurt us in the end. It never has ever worked out. We ended up flying somebody down and moving them down to the headquarter office that we built. Paid them like I don't know exactly how much we paid them, but we paid them, I think 5 figures to move their life down to Austin. They then a week later quit the job, and just use the business to help them make the move and use that expense. So yeah. So with that said, like always make sure that somebody is a good culture fit. We knew they weren't a good culture fit, but we really needed that skill on the team. Wasn't my department. I'm not taking responsibility for that hire. But either way, and anytime you make a decision based out of alignment of the culture or the main vision of the business, it's gonna hurt. So did that help answer your question? Do you have any secondary questions based off of that?
Absolutely. That answered it really well. I was just interested in like sort of like the core principles behind it. And then in regards to like, I guess 2 questions to tag onto that. As far as like being a leader goes, how, like in your eyes, how much of like the groundwork should a leader also be doing? Like, if you're managing a team of setters, how much setting should be the manager be doing? In addition to the management stuff. And then secondarily, how do you recommend leaders like kind of stay 1 or 2 steps ahead of the people that they're managing, so that they continue to be that guiding light?
Totally get that, man. Yeah, that's a great question. So those are both really good questions. So first, let's dive into that first part. So the second question was, how do you continue to stay ahead? The first one is how much like tangible work should you be doing? Like, for example, like if you're a setter manager, how much setting should you be doing? I wouldn't frame it as what is a quantity of work that I need to be doing. It's like the best managers are ones who are always, it doesn't mean that they need to be exactly leading by example, but at any point where they are needed to lead by example, they can step in and outperform anybody. Right. So for example, like at one point, Bargov is my business partner. He does very high level marketing, meeting with clients and all this stuff. When we started, we ran ads for like a week for our own agency and realized like we would just rather go through network in order to acquire clients. But in that week, Bargov was appointment setting. His speed of lead was like a minute and a half. It was insane, like faster than like any appointment setter I've ever seen. And he used to manage appointment setters. And I'm like, okay, now I see why his team was so good. Because the second he needed to step in, he was like, I will outperform any single one of you. Right. And it's not to bring the team down. It's like, I'm going to encourage your team. And this kind of answers your second question. You want your team to be savages, because if they're savages, it's going to force you to step up in other ways to continue making you a savage, right? Or keeping you in that leadership position or keeping you moving ahead. Right. So like I would always encourage my team. Like that's why I invest so much in my team's development, because when I feel like my team is catching up to me, it puts a fat fire under my ass to learn more skills, to develop out more, to put more time in, to put in more work, put in more energy. Because yeah, somebody might surpass you, right? But it's also like, what is your role as the leader? Is it to make the most amount of sets, or is it to ensure that your team is making the most amount of sets? Right. And so here's another core principle. And man, I feel like I'm dumping a bunch of principles out here, because this has been I feel like we haven't done a lot of leadership conversation or a lot of leadership questions on these calls. So like I feel like I have like all these thoughts I've been wanting to get out on this. But another really core principle when it comes to or what was that point I wanted to make? Jonathan, it looks like you added a point here too. I want to give you a second to add that in.
Yeah, if you want to find your point, I just know with leading setters and closers, when I first started leading sales teams, when I was managing multiple companies, and I was selling and I was clearing the leaderboard. I was always selling the most, but I went from selling 8 calls, a day, not selling, but taking 8 calls a day. And I went down to about 4 calls a day so I can lead, right? Because I noticed with taking that amount of calls and leading, what I was doing was I was lowering my own close rate. I was getting overwhelmed. I had higher levels of stress. So I lowered the calls. But what I found was I kept trying to, this one offer that I was managing, I was closing at like a 60% consistent rate. This was a good, 7 years ago, I would say. And I tried to just replicate everything I was doing to close these deals. And yes, it worked. I got closers to 35, sometimes even 40%. But the big mistake that I was making was they all started to kind of sound like me, but it wasn't as authentic because they're not me, right? They all have their own energy, their own unique way of doing it. So I created SOPs around that to replicate those high results. But I also started to take the mindset of, can I get these guys to do better than me? And it allowed me to look into them specifically, not what they're not doing that I was doing, but what are they doing? What are they not doing in their own unique skill that they could be doing? And let me give them a bunch of tools to test out for their own unique skill and see which one works and doesn't work and trial and error. So I think it was a big lesson that I learned. And that team close rate, I got that team close rate above 50%. So that's an average. Everyone was closing at 50%. Wasn't sustainable long term, but we had a bunch of months like that. And it really was finding, hey, you're a very logical seller. Sell to them logically in these tools. You're a very emotional seller. You go really deep with them on their number one goal. Go deep into that with them. So I just found a lot of leaders that came in and managed before me on that company were just trying to replicate themselves for doing well instead of caring about the closers and really coaching them, being direct. And I did want to say one little point on your setting thing. How much setting should you be doing? With that, if you can get to a point where you're not setting at all, where you have the word tracks, especially with setting, like if you can get to the point where you have the word tracks and everything's so in place that they can just book a ton of calls and you don't have to set, that would be the goal. Because my team right now for Sales Igniters has 5, when someone opts in, they get the first text. They have 5 messages that they'll send, depending on how they answer. That's the only shit they need. And they can book calls all day, right? On the phone, it's different, but text-wise, no problem.
Yeah, and that's great. And I remember the point I was going to make too is, as a manager, there's a difference. Like there's a transition from going from like to like a standard employee to like a manager style role, right? And the main shift is you go from having to hit KPIs to now owning a KPI. Right. So when you're in a non-manager position, your job is like, okay, like you have to get 10 sales this month, right? Now, when you're in a manager position, it's like, hey, you own that the entire team hits 50. Right. Your job is not to pick up the phone and hit those calls. Now, let's say like this is where a true manager steps up. It's like, hey guys, like the call volume is like overflowing here. We don't have enough closers. I'll pick up the phone and keep hitting the phones with you guys. Right. That's when a true manager like steps up and leads by example. Right. But at the end of the day, your job is to empower your team. Like the way that your performance is tracked, especially by a business owner, is not the same that they're looking at it as a closer. Right. If you're like my setter manager and like I make you a setter manager and you're just like, you're barely reviewing the setters, you're barely helping them to improve, you're barely, you're late on submitting your KPIs, metrics and all that. I'm like, dude, then you should just be a setter. Why are you in a manager position? Right. Your role is different. Right. And this is where a lot of people think like, oh, well, if I'm the setter manager, like a manager means that I just need to do more and I need to be better than everybody else. One thing to also say is like, and this is a good way to frame it is like, name a single professional sports coach that is better at the game than the players. That is better at the game than the worst player on the team, besides David Beckham, right? Like, so think about it like from that perspective. It's like, name a single sports coach. Dude, most of the sport, like look at American football. They're all like 70 years old, fat and out of shape, right? Like try to put those guys up against literally the worst player in the entire NFL, and then we'll get smoked, right? But the coach's job isn't to be the best player on the field. The coach's job is to ensure that all the players are performing at the highest quality and winning championships. Right? You don't see them out there. The coach will stay with that person. They'll stay after practice. They'll give them that extra TLC that the players need in order to perform at the high level. That's the job of the manager. The job of the manager isn't to sit there and throw 100 spirals by the end of practice. Right. So just keeping that in mind, like your job is different. And the way to like, I guess, stay ahead, it doesn't mean just like doing more work. It's like, dude, you should just be obsessed about empowering your team. Because just because like now all of a sudden, like one of the setters is like triple your set rate. Awesome, dude. That is your job to ensure that they do that. Right. That's what the business owner is looking at. And I'm going to commend you. And then if that setter is like triple what your set rate was, but they don't have manager potential, and they're coming to me saying like, hey, I want to be the manager, but like, dude, what? No, Evan. Like Evan's the manager, dude. The only reason why you're closing at that is because of Evan. Or the only reason why you're setting at that rate is because of Evan. Right. Like as a business owner, I don't want you taking sets all day. Right now, if the team gets constrained, I want you to, without me even having to say it, step in and start setting, but then also like start being proactive about making that higher for that next setter to come in. right? But at the end of the day, I don't want you to be a setter. I want you owning that KPI. I don't care how you get there. I just want you to empower the team to ensure that we get there.
Makes sense. That was super. That was great. Thank you.
Awesome, man. Hell yeah. Any follow-up questions to that?
That's got me pretty set for the time being. I'll let that marinate and come back with more.
Sweet, man. Love it. Awesome. Nick, Ismail, Greg, Vince, what questions do you guys have?
I got one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, while we have a smaller call here, I think it would be just kind of be interesting to learn a little bit about how your brain works. Can you tell me about a time or a couple of times when you've been faced with like an extreme challenge and then overcome it in a way that you're proud of yourself?
Yeah. Are you interviewing me for a job right now?
No, I'm curious. Dude, yeah. I do this all the time on I guess on my calls, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, can you be like a bit more specific to like is this just more of a curiosity question, or is this like you're trying to get something from this, and like because then I can align a specific experience behind something that you can get value from.
Yeah. I guess like as an entrepreneur, you're gonna go through, oh fuck, this is happening moments. This is not good. Something needs to fucking get going right now, and I need to figure this out. Is there ever a time that you were feeling the pressure, feeling hot, and like how did you not crack under that pressure? Or if you did, that's okay too. But I'm just curious about these times because you're playing on a way bigger scale than I've ever played as far as like a business owner goes. And so I'm just curious like what it's like when you get to start getting to these higher levels.
Yeah, man, great question. So I'm not going to answer the first question you asked because for what it seems like you're looking for, that wouldn't actually be helpful. For that, I'm going to answer it a different way, and let me know if this answers your question.
Okay.
So when you get like as like a high performer, quote unquote, right? Like somebody who's like at the top business owner, you realize that like at the end of the day, doesn't fucking matter. You need to get shit done. Right? Like if all of a sudden like you are, you're behind on sales for the month, you got to make more sales happen. Right? And by like almost accepting that, it almost takes away the stress. Like my brother, like my older brother, he's this COO of like a military contracting company. He always says, as a business owner, you eat what you kill.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You eat anything that like if you need to eat, you have to kill. Right? And that's why it's so scary for people to jump in and become a business owner. Right? 'Cause it goes from like you're kind of like in a farm and sure, like there's, you have to kill the pig or something like that, but it's in the pen, right? Like when you're a business owner, you got to go find, you got to hunt, right? And so that's where a lot of people, again, like this is why most people aren't entrepreneurs, but once you make that shift and you just accept the fact that you just have to eat what you kill, it's either you starve or you eat, or you eat a lot, right? So like, I remember when I first started the business, right? And some people are incredibly risk adverse. Me particularly, I typically, funny enough, like I feel like this doesn't always come across my personality, but I'm relatively risk adverse,
I
right? Like,
remember you telling me that the first time I asked a question too. I remember you telling me that.
yeah. Like I'm not somebody who's generally like, and again, I'm at a different point in my life. I used to not even understand the word risk. I used to do the dumbest shit. Like you guys, I can tell you like this stuff I used to do. I'd like walk in. I wanted to like start doing like media buying for like people. So I was like pretty much went into this like snuck into this like local political election thing near my town and just started like fucking pitching people on media buying. Like I've done some like weird ass shit. Like I've like I feel like if I went through and said all the stories of the random shit I've done up to this point, it'd be nuts. But yeah, I mean nowadays, especially like in a relationship and stuff like that, I don't have the luxury of massive risk, but I'm also young, so I have the luxury of massive risk, and like I don't have mouths to feed and stuff. But yeah, I mean, dude, I think the biggest thing is realizing realizing that shit's always going to happen, and it's just how you decide to react to it. And once you just come to terms with the fact that yeah, like dude, like something breaks, right? Like let's say like we spend money on ads, like we spend like let's say we spend 10 grand on ads and we realize the fucking calendar was not populating on any of those ads, right? We would never spend 10 grand just to find that issue out. We'd find that out pretty much immediately. But let's say we did that, we would go, okay, we're down 10 grand, we spend the money on ads, the calendar link didn't happen. Okay, what do we need now? Did it negatively impact cash flow? Yes. Okay, we have to sell deals. What do we need to do? Right? Like it's very unemotional. And then from there, when you turn things around, it's like, cool. Okay, we got it. But also realizing that business, and if you guys have never read the book, The Infinite Game, it's incredibly valuable. definitely check it out. It pretty much just talks about the concept of like business is not like a game that you just win or it ends. It's something you're always kind of playing. Like,
Mhm.
even if you exit, sure, like you win one of the games, but like, you know, the season still goes on, right?
Mhm.
Like a season ends in football, another one starts, right? Like the game is always being played, right? So there's finite games like sports and stuff like that too, but then there's infinite games like business where you're constantly looking to develop and evolve, right? So like realizing that like that's the thing too. It's like the reason why, like I would say it's more of how you approach the downs, because like the ups you can just celebrate, but like it's more of the principles of how you manage the downs, right? That's why when you ask for a specific example of like a time where that's happened, I mean, I kind of just gave an example that wasn't a real example, but like that's just like how like I think understanding more about how my brain operates in those times is more valuable for that reason. If that helps answer your question better.
Sure. Yeah, that does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely got some stuff from that. So thank you.
Yeah, of course, man. Yeah. And just to wrap up on that too, like the biggest thing is just a few things, just like to put a bow on it. Main principles, realizing that at the end of the day, like, you know, it's like, you know, kill or starve, right? Understanding that you know, that 10 grand is gone. We're not getting that money back. You could sit there and bitch and go, oh, that wasn't fair. You know, Facebook stole my ad spend and bitch, and then you can bitch until your business explodes. Right.
Mhm.
So it's like one of those things you just have to like there has been like let me try to, I mean, I can give an example, right? My business almost went under last November, right? Like, so this is actually a perfect example. So um you know, I was running a client success coaching offer.
Mhm.
It was a you know, premium 5-figure. I'd come in, build your entire backend off our backend systems, upsells, retention, all that. Did 6 figures in the first like few months. And then from there, you know, we just like I was like, okay, like I really want to see this offer through, and like I'm kind of at capacity with what I can manage with clients already. So I stopped selling it for like 6 months, just fulfilled on this thing, and just really see like what people needed. Got to the end and I started putting together, and I did my own cardinal mistake, which is never assume what the back end offer is, let your clients build it for you. And so I approached like all my clients. I'm like, okay, this is my next source of revenue. If I don't upsell people, like I have 3 months of emergency savings and I will need to possibly go close or some shit, unless my fiance wants to pay the rent, and I would never want her to do that. So I was like, all right, I gotta make something happen. So pitched all my clients on this new back end recurring service, and they all hated it. And I was like, shit. And I sat there for a minute, I'm like, what? But they want this, like, you know, this is. And then in my head, I was like, no, shut up, dude. Like, you got to start selling ASAP. Like, you can sit here and bitch and go like, oh, well, you thought it was a perfect offer. It's not what they want. What do they need? So I went to all my clients and was just like, hey, like, you know, what do you guys need? Like, what is it that you guys actually need? They're like, hey, now that we fixed our fulfillment, we want to start scaling. And I was like, oh. And so like, what do you mean by scaling? They're like, well, we all have organic dialed in, but we need paid traffic. I'm like, dude, I used to be like you know, I've helped like over 1,000 people with paid traffic. I was like, okay, you know, like I'm not the best media buyer. I'll need to bring on a marketing partner for that.
Mhm.
So literally within a week, I brought on a marketing partner. He didn't do a great job, but it did bring on a few clients into the door. See you later, Vince. Um,
Later.
you know, this brought a few people through the door, right? Got some people on. And then
Mhm.
from there, you know, once I got them in, I just like I was like, okay, like, you know, this guy's not working out. Within like 4 days, I brought Bargov in. And like I was like, okay, gotta pivot really fast. And we did that. And you know, since then, I mean, it's now been 9 months, 10 months of our partnership, and it's going great.
Cool. Thank you. That was exactly what that was. I really appreciate that. And then I think, what is it? It's never choose the back end offer, let them choose it for you. That's something I took really well from that. So thank you.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Because
I
just
think
wanted to
I've
make a
heard so much
question.
that, sorry, keep going.
No, go for it. I wanted to ask you a question after.
Sure. I just, you always hear that shit's gonna hit the fan and you just got to get through it, eat what you kill. You hear that a lot, but I'm just like hearing things from people that I'm talking to right now can help me understand better, what you're talking to us about better. And so I just appreciate a specific example. Thank
Oh,
you.
for sure, man. Yeah. Yeah. By the way, when I negated that earlier, it was just more of like I thought you were trying to understand more of the principle, but I'm glad I answered that for you and circle back to that for you.
Business is fucking hard, dude. You're gonna get roadblocks thrown at you. And I'm just like trying to understand like what type of roadblocks would I really experience if I go and start this own offer, and am I gonna bring in that kind of stuff? And so never choose the back end offer, let them choose that for you. That's something I'm gonna like, that's singed in my brain.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. Yeah, even your marketing, it applies to everything. Your marketing, your offer, your fulfillment, like
Mhm.
just literally
Mhm.
ask your clients, what do you need? What would be helpful?
Mhm.
And they'll go,
Mhm.
this would be helpful. Cool, I'll build that for you. Pay me more money though. Okay, sure. Sounds
Yeah,
good.
of
Right? It's
course.
literally that simple. So yeah, and then yeah, and then that's where I really want to make sure though, if you are considering this and like, yeah, like, those roadblocks can happen, that could happen to you. So I think the stories are helpful.
Mhm.
The main
Mhm.
thing I want you to take away though is a principle, right? Just realizing that, like, dude, if you decide to start your business tomorrow, well, that's why you have to see you have to go all in on your business.
Mhm.
It's like it truly, like, if you do go all in, it's like literally pretty much impossible. Your business can fail, sure, but do you fail as an entrepreneur? Well, that depends. Do you just straight up quit and give up and walk away? I mean, dude, there was times where I was literally living off my like personal savings to start up
Mhm.
and launch the business up, right, dude? For like the first, I got that cash injection, but even like, dude, even up until like recently, I mean, because Bargov and I don't pay ourselves a lot. Like, we're starting to pay ourselves more now, but in the beginning when we were launching, we kept it super lean, dude. Like super,
Mhm.
like, dude, like we were paying ourselves like low mid four figures a month.
Mhm.
Like keeping it, I was like dipping into my own savings. I'm like, oh, I have to pay for a wedding photographer. I have to take like $1,000 out of my personal savings account. Like, I literally was like, and I prepared myself financially for this up for this transition. But dude, I
Mhm.
mean, at the end of the day, like, you just have to realize like it is what it is. Like, you just do it, and it's a different lifestyle slightly. But I mean, it depends. Like, is that what you want? It's not for everybody, and that's completely okay. But if you're
Mhm.
somebody who's like, I'm burning, like, I need to start my fucking business, I need to be my own boss, and like it's truly deep inside of you, like,
Mhm.
if you just go all in, you'll always be okay. Your
I
finances,
feel that.
what's the worst case that will happen? Like,
Yeah. The situation I'm in right now is kind of eat what you kill. It's commission based only. That's a lot of what closing is, but it's way more structure. It's like fishing in a pond that there's going to be fish as long as you just like know how to hold the fishing rod, I guess.
yeah,
Uh,
you could start testing your offer on the side then. Like, try to bring on one or two clients, prove that it's possible.
do you
Like,
have like an idea, like a ballpark number of like how much money I should utilize to start an offer with? Is that like I know that's
uh,
kind of a broad
$0, dude. I mean, the only thing I would say is maybe $16.23. I don't know if that's just Texas state tax, but like to get like meta verified or something. Like, I think verification is like, if you run a business online and your Instagram or accounts aren't verified, you're
question.
leaving a shit ton of opportunity on the table, because if not, you probably just come across as a scammer to most people. I would just get verified and just outbound the fuck out of people. You're like literally starting Client Evolve. I literally just, like, a lot of it was referrals. And then, like, to land two of the clients who initially came in, I literally just sent like 80 in like a few days. I sent about 80 custom video messages to people, got two on a call, closed both of them, and then
Yeah,
like boom, business is like up and going.
yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't like I don't know, maybe just like get yourself verified if you're not. I don't think you are right now, right?
I'm verified on my personal account, but my other account, I was just posting videos on that before I started getting into high ticket, and none of them like really got popular. So I need to get back into that. I'm having such a fun time on my offer right now, though. I'm like literally just absolutely loving it. The culture is blowing up. We just went from in the like 5 months I've been there, we were at like 500K. Later today, we might cross 1 million. So we're growing and things are going really well. I just had my first like 14K month, so I'm happy. But it's like, there's always going to be that next thing, and I'm ready for it. But Jonathan, you had a question for me earlier. I'm sorry, we've been kind of going off on tangent.
No, it's fine. And just to speak on that, by the way, yeah, I mean, 14K, it sounds like your message is dialed in, but I was going to say, I think the better question is getting your message really dialed in. Because with Sales Igniters, the first couple months, I was the avatar, so it's kind of easier for me. But the first couple months, it just my webinars weren't filling. That was the old way I was selling it. And I went on LinkedIn and just started, I created 4 messages of my pitch, and I just started blasting that to like 50 to 100 people, and 2 of them were working well, and then I made different versions of that, and I eventually got to the point where I could message like 10 people, and I would get about four or 5 people that would say they'd want to know more, and I'd get 1 to 2 book calls and close a deal like clockwork. And it was just like one little alter of my message, right? And then after that, I like, it's so weird, people are like, what's the funnel that's going to work for me? I can put my message anywhere I want. It doesn't matter. I can go on YouTube, I can go in a webinar, in a challenge. It doesn't matter. It's going to resonate with my people. And I've done it on any channel, even without a following. So But 14K, I mean, you probably have your message.
I want to be upfront. This is with my offer that I'm closing for right now.
Okay.
But I did just get a lot from you about resourcefulness and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I've grown 3 different companies on the side of life coaching, a high performance, and then sales igniters while being a high ticket closer. It's part of the beauty of it. But for me, it was just like once the message was dialed in, then I was able to go to ads, and then the cost for ads just was very clear because, you know, I got some real data. What I was going to ask you before was, what are you worried about? To be honest, like what's that big worry that's in you that you're asking Noah that question?
I'm not necessarily worried too much.
Okay, if you are, 'cause it's a
There's
big
probably
game.
there probably is some type of mental block inside of me, and I can do more to unpack that. To be honest, like I've got the lifestyle that I've kind of dreamed of for a really long time. Evan is right in that room next door to me. We're both remote. We can go wherever the fuck we want. I'm making enough money to pretty much do what I want. I want to travel. I want to go see the world. I want to have a really good time. Ultimately 14K a month, you can't really like have that much abundance with 14K a month. And that's the crazy thing is I was always, when I was at 4 or 5K a month or 3K a month or 2K, I was like, okay, I just want to be here. And now that I'm here, I'm like, oh, it's still not enough. So ultimately, I absolutely do need to go and start scaling, and I have big dreams for myself. But also right now, I'm like wondering, is it just close on this offer, stay really like cool with my team? I can't tell you how much I love my team. We're like a huge family. They're taking care of us super well. They're like booking us trips to different places and hotels, and I feel super aligned with what I'm doing, and I'm learning a ton. And so it's like, do I hang out in here and waste these? Like I'm 27, you know, I don't want to necessarily waste my time. I'm not necessarily worried, but I'm like, do I just soak this in and have a really good time right now? Or is it like immediately time to get onto the next thing?
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I'll tell you one thing, the uncomfort is always a good sign. That's one thing I've learned. Cause I had a moment in the middle of this year where my old partners, that's why I'm partnered with Noah now. My old partners, I had to break that off and get 100% of my LLC back, which and in that exact same time, everything's been great for 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it was as a closer growing businesses. At the same time, I got rid of my partners and I had to go through court and pay them out, you know, over $120,000 straight that I had to pay them out to get, you know, the LLC back. But I also went through a 10-year breakup at the exact same time. So it was like everything was like in destruction. And I was like, what the fuck is going on right now? Like, this is insane. But I kept running into a mentor of mine, and he was just like, man, when things, you know, you got to take down the house to build the skyscraper. So when things are rough, you should know that that's good news, as long as you don't quit, because that's the way to win. So yeah, you'll get into business. It's a different beast. You'll have to hit 30K months to even start to profit then, and you'll see your ad budget going up and you'll be freaking out in your own way. But just know that stress levels go down. You get used to it. You remain calm in challenges. And next thing you know, you hit your next level. And you're right, you know, 14K a month, it's not going to do much right now, but it does allow you to have the freedom to grow the business. And that's freaking great news, man.
Yeah. No, it's cool.
You know, I have some thoughts on that too, man. Jonathan, that was great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So there's a few times, like there's kind of a principle that I would always follow when it comes to like taking that next leap. Because there's nothing wrong with just fucking printing cash, being young, traveling, having a good time. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Like that's awesome. Like, you know, enjoy it. The two things that I'm always looking at is one, because being a business owner, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Right. But I always knew when it was time to make the leap when I was uncomfortable feeling comfortable. Right. If I'm like super comfortable and I'm like, dude, like I have all the money, I have this, like, dude, like I don't like this. Like, I don't like where I'm at right now. Like, that's when it's time to make that next leap. And I also think I always go like, okay, like how much more growth is there for me? Like, dude, the reason why I could just like look at a coaching business and like in an hour be like, you do this shit, like you, and this is not a guarantee, but you know, you do this shit and you'll be making more money. I could just look at it because I've literally like there's so many times I'm like, should I go start my own business? Should I go start my own business? But I'm like, dude, I'm learning so much right now from this company. Like I am like I have my toes everywhere. Like, dude, like I don't feel comfortable starting my company until I get better at high ticket sales. So I became the sales clinic moderator and monitored all of our sales clinics, all the sales coaching. And
How long did you do that for?
Monitoring the sales clinics.
Yeah, like when you're saying I don't feel comfortable, but so I'm gonna like learn, get better at high ticket sales. Like how long were you doing that for?
Um, so I started learning. I started doing the monitoring for about I think a year and a half or 2 years, every single day, every single Thursday, for about an hour. And so I literally learned this guy's script inside and out. And then on top of that, like it's one thing of knowing the information, but it's also, do you have the opportunity to implement that information inside the business? Right. Because then at that point, I was like, all right, I want to test high ticket sales. I've been listening to this for a year. And there's other skills I was developing at that time. I didn't sit there for a year and a half and finally go, okay, now I'm finally ready. But like that's just one example. And then I was like, okay, they're like, hey, we need back end ascensions. I'm like, I'll do those. Like, I'll take them. And it's like anything from 1,800 to 85K. Right. Like, so I was sitting there, I was like, yeah, sure. I'll try to sell that. And then like, I think my second call, I closed an 85K, like back end mastermind deal. And then from there, I closed about $600,000 in about 3 months of high ticket sales. Right. So I was just ripping these because I listened to this guy for like a year. I was like, okay, I got this. And then when I got to this point, my commissions that I feel like I was getting wasn't aligning. Like, honestly, you get to a point where you just get kind of fucking fed up too, especially as a closer. You're like, dude, I just made this business $600,000 and they paid me like 12 grand. Like, that could have been my $600,000. And then when I left to start my own business, I was charging 18 to 24K. And every time I close a deal, I'm like, I just made 24K. That's right. So like I would just say, like, when you feel comfortable, or excuse me, when you feel uncomfortable being comfortable and you feel just kind of fed up. But dude, in the meantime, if you're just printing cash right now and like you're really enjoying the lifestyle and you love your team, like, dude, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, keep doing it. Like, but like if you're starting to feel like, all right, like this is fun, but it almost feels like fake fun. Like I feel like I have a bit of golden handcuffs on me right now. Now it's time to take that next step.
Okay, that's great to know. I'm 5 months into high ticket, so I'm just like I'm just having such a good time right now, and I'm learning so much. It's so cool. So, but yeah, there's things going on in here. I'm just like, so this is really great insight, and I feel like I've taken up a lot of this call, so I would love to give somebody else an opportunity to.
No worries, man. No, I appreciate it, dude. I mean, it's super small, so the call today. So I mean, if anybody else has a question, Burhan, Ismail, Avery, any questions from you three?
No, I don't. I'm just listening in.
Yeah, no worries. Awesome. Burhan, what about you? Wonder if Burhan is closing a deal as we speak, so just listen. Hey, okay.
Not surprised from what I hear about you, my man. Good for you.
Hell yeah, man. Rip that. Ismail, what about you? Ismail is using the bathroom or something. Nick, Evan, send it back to you guys. What questions do you potentially have? Or Jonathan, if you want to make things interesting, if you have any questions for me, also think about any questions I may have for you as well, too.
Let's see. All right, I got something that I think a lot of entrepreneurs go through, closers go through this, dealing with objections, and leaders go through this all the time. When you're holding people accountable, either as a manager, as a leader, or when you're dealing with objections, there comes a point where you got to decide you're not here to be a people pleaser. It doesn't mean you're going to be rude, right? But you're not here to be a people pleaser. And I've seen so many leaders getting somewhere good with somebody, whether that's an employee or with an objection with someone. And right before they're about to help change their mindset, give them a different perspective, they back off because they feel like they're making them uncomfortable. They're pushing them a little too hard. Noah's very good at just standing in that fire with them. And you should see one of the agency clients we've closed. We were dealing with objections for like 30 minutes. We were just sitting there, just in it. So Noah, what advice could you give to people that, want to be direct and hold people accountable, but notice that they're getting a little uncomfortable and that people-pleasing side comes in and they sort of back off? How do you help them stand in that?
That's a great question. Damn. As I'm thinking about that, I'm gonna open the door because my cat is screaming at the door. Hey, buddy.
Oh, that cat's active.
Dude, he's just always screaming and meowing. Cool. So that's a great question. So and one thing I want to preface this with is I am so guilty of the people pleasing side. Like I definitely at times have given into that a bit because I truly love people and care about them. What it comes down to is realizing that it's literally not about you. right? Like, and you have to, and if it makes it, one thing that makes it easier for me to make things uncomfortable is sometimes I'll even call it out and be like, hey man, you know, like, hey, at the end of the day, like, dude, like, I think that you're awesome. Like, this is what the business needs right now is these metrics to be at these KPIs. Like, almost like not blame the business, but use the business as the leverage point of the conversation. Right. So be like, hey man, like, you know, like you're great. Like, this is awesome. But like, we need to talk is like the business needs all of our closers to be at least 23% this quarter in order to hit the goal. And right now we have, you know, our average is around 21 and you're at around like 18 right now. So during this call, what I really want to do is just work with you to empower you to help you get to that point so we can help you get up to those metrics. So that way we can keep moving forward. Right. And like, so you can like almost like leverage a bit because like some people are like, you know, there's people, a mentor that we're currently working with right now who gets on, he's just like, you guys are fucking stupid. What are you doing? And just like, I'm like, okay, word, like, I need this right now. I actually need this in this season of my life right now. But, you know, what it comes down to is like, just like realize, like, just, unless you're somebody who's comfortable being direct like that. And also when you're like a manager for a team, unless your team likes to be managed just by you being super blunt and direct, it's like, what is the best way to get through to this person? So when it comes to like being uncomfortable, like I always just usually resort back to the business and the data. Right. Like, so for example, if somebody's like, yeah, like I really like, you know, I want to work with you guys or something like that. And this can be done like sales and objection handling too. Like, I really want to work with you guys. I just don't know if like, you know, it's like if right now is like the best time. If objectively the data says that is a dumb thing to say, like I'll be like, hey, like I totally get how you're feeling, but would your business say the same thing? And they're like, no, probably not. It's like, right. And it's like, you know, here's the thing. Like, I totally get how you're feeling, right? I can sympathize with you as a person. And I love you as a person. This is a great conversation. But like, at the end of the day, like you know, like the data will tell us what you need. Right. And that's why it's very easy on sales calls. Like one thing that we do is we just tear apart people's businesses and we just like, we're like, hey, these are the glaring holes inside of your business. And then it's like, we'll tell you how to fix them. Do you want to fix these yourself? It sounds like you'd be better at doing it. Okay, then let us do it for you. Right. It's just like also being like knowing when to just be objective and following the data, but also being respectful of the person's like emotions as a human being and like validating that too. Right. Because there's two sides of any decision. There's the objective and the emotional. Depending on what you're selling, it's kind of a spectrum, right? If you're selling B2C, like dating coaching, it's going to be way more on the emotional than the objective side. Right. But like, again, for B2B, we're super objective. Like Jonathan, like when we're on calls together, like it's very much like, dude, this is what the metrics are saying. And then if there is any emotion side, we'll tap into that a bit, but it's like, okay, but like, listen, we don't want to work with emotional business owners. We want to work with people who understand that this is the best decision. And if it's not the best decision, we will be the first to say this is not the best decision. So, yeah, I would say the biggest thing is just like when it comes to if you feel like you're starting to people please, just pull the business back in and pull the data back in, right? And not make it about you being like, hey, I think that you're bad. It's like, hey, objectively, you suck, right? Objectively, you are not a good closer right now. Objectively, you are not closing at the rate that you need to. Right. And like, so from there, it's like, what I want to do though, my job is to empower you. And this is where also, if you ever have to let somebody go or you have to fire somebody based off, especially off performance or they're not showing up, it's like, hey, like the business needs strong communicators right now in this period. The business needs to be at this percent close rate. We've given you the support that we, you know, that we've been trying to, or we've been giving you enough support where theoretically you should now be at this metric, but unfortunately you are still not. So with that said, like this is not a personal decision. This isn't because I don't like you. Sometimes there is an element of that too if the person just sucks with the culture. But you can just get you know you can just go back to but this right here, like objectively, you were just not the best fit for this role at this time, right? So like I say the two biggest things is one, always pull the data back in, and two, leverage the business and like realize like what is actually in their best interest, right? Like at the end of the day, like there's an analogy I heard one of my friends used during like it was like an Instagram reel. He's a sales coach trainer, but the one thing he was saying the other day was like, if your friend's like a drug addict, right, and they're really struggling with drugs, are you gonna be like, yeah, man, come on, you should stop. No, it's okay, man. Like, keep doing you. Or you're gonna be like, bro, stop fucking doing the drugs. They're going to kill you, and you're being stupid right now, right? And it's like realizing, like, okay, like what is the like at the end of the day, like just realizing, again, it's not a personal decision, it's a business decision. Does that help, John? Do you feel like that?
Yeah, that answer is great, and I would like to add in believe that you have value to give, because that'll help you with the courage to do it too. That really does answer it. I mean, even on sales calls, we got a lot of sales guys here. One of the things I've done all the time to close people, when I know the product's really good, I know I built up enough trust with them where they know that I'm here for them, but can't seem to get them over that fence. But they have the cash, they can do this. They're just like not pulling the trigger. Is I'll do essentially what he said. I'll be like, look, man, we've been talking for like 20 minutes now, 25 minutes now. I'll mention something in discovery. I really like this about you. And I just want you to know, like, I want to be real with you, but I want to be real with you, which is no, what you said, calling it out. I said, I want to be real with you because I like, in this time, like, I care about you. I want to see you succeed. You're clearly someone that wants it. So I'm going to be very straight with you right now. And then I'll start to go into, a closing line, which, could be around like, what is it about this? Do you feel like it's not going to work for you? Or do you feel like you're kind of in your own fear right now that's just preventing you from it? Because clearly this has everything you want, right? Call has to go a certain way for that. But I call it the blunt approach, which is just straight up calling them out and saying like, hey, like, I want to do this to help you out. Like, I'm not trying to be a dickhead here, but I'm doing this because I want to step in the fire with you. I want to help you through this because I know that you've already waited 3 months to do this. Now you want to wait another, 2 days, and maybe that'll go on another 3 months doing this. Like, come on, we can't do this anymore, man. We got to make a decision here. Yes or no. That's it. Otherwise, I'll leave you alone. But yeah, no, you're really good at that. And I see that on sales calls, and I think it's a good power for you.
Yeah, appreciate that, man. Yeah. And just to add on to that too, like, one thing that I find incredibly helpful is just asking for permission. Like, hey, are you cool if I'm like completely honest with you right now? And they're like, yeah, of course. And obviously you're honest about the entire call, but it's like, are you cool if I'm just like very straight with you right now? Because I feel like we've been dancing around this point, this point, this point. I really just want to make sure that we can move forward on this. So are you cool if I'm really straight with you right now? They're like, yeah. It's like, your business is dying, right? Like, your business is objectively falling down the hole. Like, your closers are not performing. Or if you're a manager, it's like, hey, like, you cool if I just call it as it is, like, and just call it straight. Like, your close rate is really down right now. Like, you're not performing. You're showing up late to team meetings. Or again, you don't even need, like, in some situations, you don't even need to ask for that permission necessarily. It's like, hey, like, I'm just going to be very straight with you because I want to see you be successful. And unless this point gets across, and sometimes people will get defensive, like, I know, like, you don't think I know these things and stuff like that too. It's like, it's the difference between knowing and actually taking action towards doing it, right? So, like, for example, when I wanted to step into really becoming a manager, right? I remember that, like, the whole like owning a KPI versus hitting a KPI thing, that I was on a call with like one of my managers for a while, and I'm like, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? And then they were just like, okay, no, here's the thing, like, and they were kind of dancing around it, and they were like, there's a difference between owning your KPI and hitting your KPI. You hit the KPIs beautifully, you have never owned a KPI. And I was like, damn. All right, what KPI can I own? And then I just like took that on, right? So like that's just another aspect of that too. But yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is just like realizing, like, if somebody's making a dumb decision, be considerate of how they're feeling, because you also don't want to lose somebody, but just by like, be like, well, you're being stupid, right? And they're like, why would you say that? You can tell I'm obviously in a down position right now. Like, you're just kind of kicking me down, right? Like, I think the big thing is just, just realizing, like, what does this person actually need? Like, in terms of action steps objectively, and like, what do they emotionally need right now too? Do they need a bit of a pick me up right now? Are they feeling a bit defeated? Are they kind of coming in here with a bit of an ego and they just need like a little bit of a kick in the balls to be like, hey, listen, you're not all that, right? Like, what do they actually need, right? But like, doing so gracefully and doing so respectfully, and always circling back to why you're doing it too. Like, here's why I'm saying this, right? And that's, again, not so they don't just take the what you said, give them the why too.
Yeah, just show you care about them. One of the best managers I've ever had was a woman, Alicia, and I had a close rate of like 14% that month, and she was like, "What the hell are you doing? Like, what's going on?" I thought she was going to come on and give me a bunch of skill tips and all that, and she asked me stuff about my own personal life. I was going through a terrible family thing at the time. Mom, total narcissist type of stuff, realizing that, seeing her do some crazy stuff to the family. And she went through that, and we talked about it. I was the first person I got to talk about that. And I spiked up after that. But beyond that, I was so committed to sell like crazy for that company, because I was like, wow, you actually care about me as a human being, not just as someone bringing you in cash.
Yeah. And the clients will do the same thing too. Your clients will, like, we'll see that same exact perspective when you actually bring them on and be like, hey, listen, I'm going to be real with you. Like, this is what you need. And I'm saying this because I want to see you be successful. right? Like, and be like, and objectively, here's what you can do. Here's exactly what you need to do, whether or not it's with me or not. I don't give a shit if you hire us at this point, but here's what you need to do. And here's what your next steps need to be. Are you willing to commit to taking those next steps? Yes. Okay. Do you want us to take those next steps with you? Yes. Okay. Then you ready to get started? Yeah. Okay. Like, let's move forward. Right. So like just realizing like at the end of the day, like you have to be so obsessed about actually helping that person that you're willing to do anything that's outside of your comfort zone in order to help them. Right. So when you get on a call, it's like every time I'd get on a sales call, I'd literally just ingrain in my brain, like I would literally say it to myself I would say it at least 30, 40 times before getting on a call. Like, what can I do to help this person? 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 I would just ingrain that in my brain before every call. So I'd go in and be like, how can I help? Right. And like, and then from there, it's like anything I needed to say or do to get that person over the finish line in order to help them, I would do it. Right. So, and again, I would not make random guarantees or outrageous guarantees or say things that were out of alignment. But like, if they needed, like, dude, I would talk to people. I had one sales call where somebody, their mother passed away and left her inheritance to this person, and they associated the money from the inheritance with their mother, and they felt if they lost that money they would lose their mother. Like, I've gotten on some deep ass calls, right? But it's like, hey, like, that mental block, not only to enroll with us, like whatever, regardless of that point, it's like that person would have been stuck with that money for their entire life. Right? They would have been looking at that money for their entire life, never doing anything with it, having this really obsessive, unhealthy relationship with that money. Right. But like, and at the end of the day too, I don't even think I even enrolled that person. I was like, listen, like, like after going through everything and like kind of after kind of seeing how they broke down during a lot of that too, and some other ethics things came out, I'm like, okay, this just no longer is a good fit. But like, hey, at the end of the day, like you need to focus on this. You need to work on this. Right. Like you need to like take care of yourself. And like when you do that, like even when you don't close the sale, you can leave being like, it doesn't matter. Like I won that call.
That all comes down to conviction too. You kind of have to be convicted in the product for all of this to work.
Oh, of course. Well, you have to be convicted in the team, the product, the core values, right? And that's where, like, if you're at a business where you're very unaligned with the core values and how they operate ethically, you have to leave ASAP.
Yeah.
Because like when you're convicted, because like same thing if you're managing, like I'm not going to try like I'm not going to be super convicted when trying to manage a team member and telling them to pick up performance. There's been times where I've been out of alignment, even with my management, and they weren't coming back into alignment. I was telling my team members, I'm like, guys, I totally feel it. Like until this is resolved, I feel the same way you do. Right. In the meantime, what can we do to keep moving forward? But I feel you. Like I'm in the same boat as you. Like I'm not happy with this, and I'm going to here's my action steps I'm going to do to try to turn this around. Right. So it's alignment in everything. You need to be fully convicted and feel aligned behind everything that you're doing. And then from there, it's super easy to be genuine.
I agree 100%. It's so nice to be able to stay in the pocket with somebody too, where when you can slowly start to call them out, and it's like, you've already given me all this information, and now I'm going to start using it to get, not against you, but to help you.
Yeah.
I love it. I love this game.
Giving them a new perspective too.
It's so fun. Yeah. And it's like somebody sent me this email yesterday, and it was just like, I knew they weren't going to move forward at the beginning of the call. They just didn't have the money, but I wanted to be able to just stay on and give them as much value as possible. And they just sent me this beautiful email. And that honestly means more to me than a piff. It was, and so it just feels so good. I love this game.
Yeah, man. Yeah, totally get it, man. No, and that's like the rewardingness, like in the fulfillment of doing this stuff, like actually changing people's lives. Most calls you get on, you're not changing somebody's life. You might be increasing it by 1 or 2%, but there are those calls where you get on, you're like, dude, that was like, you give me, just hearing that story gave me goosebumps. I'm like, dude, that's why I do this. Like, that's the fun of this. You don't get that in a normal 9 to 5. Some people do, depending on their team, what company they're working at, but it's very, very rare. Cool. Awesome. So Jonathan, that was a great question. I'm trying to think of a question for you. I would say I'm going to ask like a bit more of a digging question. What is something that, because I feel like you have this like heap of experience. I feel like you're probably one of like the lowest key players in this, like one in this industry. Like the fact that you had like a $320K a month coaching business, and like I was like, oh, Jonathan does like sales coaching stuff, and you're like, yeah, right. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? And you're like, yeah, I was on a high ticket offer like 8 years ago or 10 years ago. I'm like, high ticket sales even existed then? Like, what the fuck? So what is something that like a principle from back in like when you were first starting to now, what are some principles that you've seen that have like held true and like will continue to carry forward and add value into the future?
Yeah, so held true in the sales game or held true in the business game?
In the industry.
Yeah.
and how it relates to sales and all these other perspectives.
Yeah. So, and actually, let me ask you another question just to make sure I'm clear in it. Principles as principles in the industry or personal principles? Like how have I acted towards teams in the industry, or principles I see in the industry that just simply always hold true?
Industry that always hold true.
Okay. So, yeah, I've made so many big moves and so many ginormous mistakes that I've learned a couple. Oh man, it's such a deep question. There's so much that popped up in my mind, but I think that the principle that I know has really given me some of the biggest leaps ever in my business, and an example I'll give is going the extra mile for people. Like, you have more energy, you have more time, you're not tired, your mind is saying that. Go the extra mile for people. Like, you got to reprogram your brain to be that next level, right? It's like people want to accomplish all this stuff so they can feel a certain way and be a certain way, but you got to be that way now to accomplish those things. You can't wait until you get to that level to change your habits. When I wanted to become a better high ticket closer, I knew that my brain was foggy all the time. I was having drinks all the time. I wasn't eating healthy. I changed my diet. I worked out more. I went to bed earlier. I started watching Shark Tank in the morning because Mark Cuban got me in this busy vibe, in this business vibe that I wanted to portray. I knew that if I wanted to make more deals, I needed to change. I didn't really realize it at the time. And you just really just want to focus on giving as much as you can. Because, for example, I had a sales igniter come in named Brian Keeley, and he couldn't make my weekly meetings. And I was like, he was like he was doing well in V-Shred. He became in the top 10 closers of 230. And what I did with him was, and I couldn't do it with everyone, but I tried my best that I could, is I would give him one-on-ones on the phone when he needed them. Sometimes it was twice a month, sometimes it was 4 times a month, simply because he couldn't make the meeting. You know how many coaches I know that would say, hey, these are the times where we do the group coaching calls. Like, if you can't make them, that's it. Like, you're done. Like, what am I supposed to do? It's a one-to-many model. But I tried to give people that time. And because of that, he's never forgot that. And he is the top closer now on Sales Igniter's offer. And he's going to continue to be that way. He's made me back more money than, and he's just kicking off already by doing the best. He's done the best his first month than any closer has ever done on Sales Igniters, which is great, and that's one principle I think that's always worked, is building good connections with people, going the extra mile for them. Because someone named Brendan Burchard gave me this quote way back when. He said, the next person around you that can give you your next $1 million or multi-million dollars is probably someone you're already speaking to that's right around you. You just don't know it yet. And it's been a big flaw of mine. I've constantly head down, been grinding, never wanted to relax and recover, because I felt like if I'm recovering and relaxing, I'm not moving quick enough and not, putting the time out to go and invest in other people and give them time. And that stuff has really slowed me down so much, where now I focus on, hey, I have 20 things on my calendar today, and this person said, hey, I really need sales help for my business. Do you have, 20 minutes? And it's like, no, I don't, but I'm going to say yes and do it because I know who they are and I want to help them out. And the next thing you know, we're making some crazy deal a month later that's growing us, right? So that's one principle. And then the other principle I got from a guy named James Wedmore that I'd like to share was, sometimes speeding up is slowing down. If you're grinding every day, all day, and getting yourself burnt out, yeah, you're going to stretch yourself. You're going to be able to do more for longer hours. I used to only be able to work 4 hours very hard and I'd be exhausted. Now I can go 12, 13 hours, 5 days a week if I wanted to and be fine. But what he would say was, you got to slow down, do that hobby on the side, go to that hobby twice a week. You're not, just because you're not making cash during that time doesn't mean you're not helping yourself. And take time to meditate or do what you do and just slow down a little. And all these better ideas started to come into my mind when I did that. And then when I would go and implement that, I'd have these huge leaps where the grind mind 24/7, you do got to grind, don't get me wrong, but that grind mind 24/7, all I was coming up with was high cortisol stress thoughts. That's it. When I slowed down, I was like, oh man, what if I did that? What if I did that? And then if you take action on it, boom. So I would say take some recovery time to slow down to speed up, and also go the extra mile of giving to others, because I can guarantee you all know someone around you. Maybe you don't know it right now. They can help you take big leaps, a business partner, etc. And actually, me and Noah partnering up happened pretty much just like that. We wanted to get on and talk about, managing teams and stuff like that. We did a call together, and it was maybe an hour after that call that I was like, we got to partner up. And I sent them a message, and here we are.
Voice text, and I said I thought the same thing after that meeting, and we just booked the meeting, that we partnered.
And if we didn't do that, who knows?
Yeah. And that's why too, like funny enough, we don't really even have like an aggressive sales process for ourselves. We literally just host what are called goodwill sessions, even with people who aren't even an ideal client, right?
Yeah.
There's somebody we're going to be talking to, I think tomorrow. He literally is like, I have a marketing and a sales team. I just need help with this stuff. Me, Bargov, and Jonathan are all going to get on just to help this guy out.
Just to give him free value, he's not
Yeah.
even. Yeah.
Yeah, we're literally going to train his internal team to be better, so they don't even need us even more.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing: every time I do this, they always go, "What can I do to give back to you?" And I just go, "Hey, if you know somebody else who could use a goodwill session, let me know."
Mm-hmm.
And then that we eventually find someone to go, "Hey, oh shit, we could help you." And they go, "Yeah, you could."
What
Yeah.
does a goodwill session kind of consist of? Just like going and either training their team, or just like dissecting their business, or doing some kind of something that we're doing right now,
Whatever
just
they
like
need.
Ask questions.
Yeah, I mean, kind of whatever they need. Like sometimes somebody would be like it's usually if we identify a problem that's holding somebody back and we know how to solve it, we'll then offer a goodwill session. I mean, if someone's like, "Hey, can we just like have a session? I just want to go and like talk to you." It's like, that time is for my friends and family, or if we're just connecting and I have that time available, sure. Or if I see some sort of like relationship forming from that. So it's not just like anyone could just be, "Hey, I just want a goodwill session." But like, let's say you were like, "Dude, I'm like really struggling right now with like my setting. And like, we have this relationship that we've developed, and you've been showing up to these calls, you've been giving me a bunch of value and stuff like that too." I'm like, like, "Hey, dude, like I feel like I'm really ready to launch my offer. I don't know what it looks like." It's like, dude, like I'll just call you real quick and be like, "Dude, so what about this? What about this? Okay, dude, here's exactly how it'll launch it. Here's how I'll start it." Right? It could be as simple as that, or it could be like, we've gotten on with like 8-figure entrepreneurs and literally just tore apart their entire sales and marketing process.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Too. And like, it's like, okay, like, and Bargav and I have a rule, we're allowed to delegate each other goodwill sessions anytime, like at any point. Right. So if you
Cool.
find someone who I can help.
Like, sorry, bro, you're showing up for this. We're dropping
Yeah.
that. We're dropping
No,
dimes.
actually, we have each other's calendars. Any slot 9 to 5 that's free, we're allowed to just book people in. We're obviously
What's your ideal client then? Who's your target market? I'm honestly don't even know at this point.
yeah, no, I mean that's actually a good question. Yeah, so for the growth, so we do done for you marketing, done for you sales, and then done for you acquisition as a whole. Right now, what we're mainly focusing is done for you acquisition. What we're looking for, number one, the biggest, most important factor is I would say the entrepreneur, right? Is like, do they suck? Are they great to work with? Are they weird? Are they, do they have a bad reputation? Do they have a good reputation? Like, do we like this person, right? Is this entrepreneur somebody that we can ethically align behind? From there, it's, where's their business at? Typically, I mean, here's the thing, like when we launch a client, they need at least $500 to $1,000 a day of ad spend. Typically around 500 is where we launch them. So they need to have at least a marketing budget of, what is that? 45K like a month in order to do this. So that can be somebody, but again, we won't spend 45K if it's not profitable. We're not like, oh, it's $500 a day, and if it's not working, we'll just keep running it because that's our budget. But typically somebody who's doing at least 100K a month. If we find somebody, we just took on somebody the other day who is at like 70K a month. But but we looked at their process during again a goodwill session. I was getting coffee with them, and I'm like, "Dude, they're doing what? Your sales agency's doing this? Like, what is going on, dude?" And I literally just sat down and I mapped out the entire game plan of how to turn everything around. And I'm like, "Dude, if you want us to help you implement this, like we'll get on a call, and like if you want to, we can work together on this." And he was like, "Yeah, sure, that makes sense." And we knew that if we tweak these small things, we can get them to like 100K within like a month or two, and then from there, within like 6 months, get them to like 200-300K a month. Like we knew we could do it very quickly, right? So like, it needs to be an offer that's validated to cold traffic, right? Or they've ran it in the past and it was validated. They have the money to spend on ads. They've done at least 100K a month, or again, high 5 figures, low mid high 6 figures. and they're pretty much looking for help on marketing or sales, and they want to focus more on fulfillment. They just want to delegate out marketing and sales to somebody else. So yeah, it's really just like, I would say, and I appreciate you asking that question. Yeah, I would just say like, yeah, 6-figure entrepreneur, 6-figure a month entrepreneur, looking to scale the shit out of their business, maybe tapped out on organic, wants to start running paid, and doesn't want to build that whole entire arm of their business. They just want to focus on fulfillment and collect a check.
Got it. Cool. So if we were doing like 900K a month and wanting to bring somebody else on, probably not coming in and talking to you, or
it depends. Like if you guys were like, hey, like we want to launch an entire new offer, like, hey, we're going to be launching this whole new coaching arm, or like we're going to be
we actually are. We're about to launch, it's essentially kind of like I guess like a back end thing. Our job right now is to get people their new jobs. Right after that, we're launching something new. It's called Smart Start 100. It's going to be how to ramp up in the first 100 days of once you get that job, how to become like an ideal employee. So
Like an upsell?
it's an upsell. Yeah, we're about to bundle it too. I think we're gonna launch it in the next couple of days. I want to connect you with Weston. He's like AJ's right-hand man, our CEO's right-hand man. I think you guys would have a lot to chat about, actually. So
Yeah, for sure, man. No, I appreciate that. That's the thing too. That's where Goodwill Sessions come into play, because like if you guys are looking to launch a new offer, but maybe, are you guys currently running paid traffic?
we're all paid.
Okay,
We're
you're gonna say all organic.
It's actually insane to me. Our CEO gets like 14 likes on his Instagram post, and we're doing 900K a month. It's actually baffling to be honest.
Yeah, it's always like one or the other. If you guys could even start ripping organic too, and like even if you developed out a creative team for that, you guys would probably print an additional 200-300K a month.
Yeah.
Which would really help push across the million line. It's hard to hit a million a month consistently just off of paid, but you needed to hit $1 million a month.
It's hard to get organic when you're only dealing with like mid to senior level executives, and you're like, how are they going to be? They're not, these aren't the people that are running around on Instagram and TikTok and looking up shit. Like,
yeah,
so.
for sure. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, dude, I would definitely love that connection too. Anything we can do to even just like diagnose, I would get Bargov on there too. We can just tear apart pretty much your go-to-market strategy with the new offer if you guys wanted us to. Yeah, so I would definitely be down for that. Appreciate that connection, man.
Cool. Okay. Sweet.
And he's got money to spend on ads, so
we're spending like 10K plus a day on ads or something.
yeah, exactly. I mean, with the expertise between Noah, myself, and Bargov, I mean, we can obviously talk deeper then, but it's pretty easy at that point. If you got the money to spend on ads, we just got to put the infrastructure in and bam.
Awesome.
Yeah, would you guys be looking to, like, I guess what would you guys primarily be looking for? Would it be like marketing help, sales help, or both? Or like what exactly does that look like?
I think that the best thing that you guys could do is pick their brain about this new offer that we're going to be launching. And because I've talked to them about it, and I'm like, how are we going to target people that are in their first couple of days? I think it's like a couple of days before they start a new job, and then the next 3 months after it. How are we going to target these people for paid ads and get them in the business? It's going to be pretty easy to upsell our current clients, or easy-ish, or also bundle it with new clients coming in, that we have this to get you the job and this to, once you get the job, make sure that you ramp up quickly. But as far as like, where's that gap going to be for how we go and target those people? I think that's something that you guys could you guys could help us out with.
For sure, yeah.
I'm going to
what's up?
I'm going to connect you guys for sure.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you. Yeah, feel free to, you have my number?
I don't have your number. And
yeah,
also,
however you want to make it on Instagram, or you can I can DM you my number later too. However, whatever the best way to connect him is.
Sure. Yeah. I'm going to DM you that. I got to turn off my camera because I was honestly supposed to leave like 15 minutes ago, but I'm having such a good time.
No worries, man.
I'm totally late for a date right now. She's just waiting for me. So I'm just
got her on the call.
Good world.
Yeah. Hey, come on on. I'm gonna send you a Zoom
Want to
link.
get the high ticket?
Yeah, exactly. She's at the Rocky Horror Picture Show right now, so I think that might not be the best, most professional way to go and conduct this conversation with you guys, but
fair enough, man. Fair enough.
Yeah,
well,
but I'm still gonna be here. I'm
yeah, no worries, man. Yeah, go ahead. Awesome. So we have about 15 minutes left here. Ismail, Burhan, Avery, even Evan. What do you guys have for us? You guys have any wrap-up questions?
I have a quick one.
Yeah, what's up, man?
So I'm like relatively new to this space, right? And like, like I'm about like almost a month in on my first offer. And like I'm just kind of wondering like what are some things that I should like be looking out for at this point? Like what should I be outside of like, just killing my role? What should I be doing on the afternoons? Like, I got into like one sales group. I'm like attending meetings like this, weekly trainings whenever I can find some. What else should I be like doing in my free time to kind of set myself apart?
Yeah, I would say first of all, exactly what you're doing right now, just more of it, right? And like finding opportunities and stuff like that. I would say the next biggest thing, dude, is just practice a fuck ton, bunch of role play. I would literally find some guys in like some of these sales communities that you're connected with and just be like, dude, like let's rip like an hour of role play every single night.
Mm-hmm.
And if you miss role play, you owe the other person $500. Like just like be like the only case where you can't do it is if there's like a family emergency or something like that or whatever it is, and like just literally like just like obsess over it and just ingrain everything in your brain, dude. Just like yeah, like that's the biggest thing. I mean, even now, dude, like the thing that keeps me so sharp is like, dude, even today, like I interviewed somebody, we did like it was like we ended up staying an extra like hour and a half of the person just literally doing role play. But like I was like, hey, like, okay, I just did the role play for you. Now, like you did okay there, but like, hey, let's go through it and I'll show you exactly how I would role play this. Right. Like even at that higher level, like it looks different, but even us, we're staying super sharp. If somebody posts like a reel with like a really good piece of value or a YouTube video, we will literally send it to each other as business owners. Like it never stops. Like you don't hit a point where you're just like, I know everything. I kind of hit a point like that in like a not in an egotistical way, just I'm like, yeah, is this really all the industry has to offer? And then like I started realizing there's a whole other doors I haven't even opened yet. Right. So I would say like become obsessed with that. And then when you feel like you're like, all right, I feel good, I feel comfortable right now. What's another area of the business that I'm interested in potentially even tapping into myself and doing, or another area of the business that I feel like I should get a better understanding of so I can be better at my job. So if you're in sales, learning how marketing works is so fucking valuable. Right? Like asking the marketing team, like meeting, be like, hey, ask a media buyer, can you meet with me like once a week? Or like, hey, like, would you be down to like host a training for us? Right. And these are the things that not only get you ahead, but also put you like on a pedestal inside your own company, going like, hey, this guy's taking a shit ton of initiative. Actually, it's great. Right. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would say the biggest thing, man, is like just I would become literally obsessed with just like absorption right now. Like just be like I would always say be a sponge. And the biggest thing is try to think of like what would make me irreplaceable in my job
Mm-hmm.
and just do all those things. Like there's really no like yeah, there's certain trainings and videos and courses and stuff like that too. But dude, I would just become like obsessed about your performance and like really getting into the space and like also like trying to like follow more of the habits of a high performer, right? Like trying to look at like what can you start doing to invest in yourself personally. Like dude, it's an exciting time where you're at. Like, dude, I've been in this industry now for like, I mean, what's it? I mean, let's see. I mean, this award is like 4 years old right here, and this was like when I hit like a core value award of the company I was previously at, and like I've been in this industry for at least it's actually about 5 years old now. Actually, October 2020, yeah, October 2020, so 4 years old. So yeah, I've been in this industry probably 7, 8 years now, and like I've literally been on over 1,000 calls, and I'm still like, how the fuck do I stay sharp? How do I learn more? Next thing and understand the industry is always changing. But dude, my favorite, I always say the happiest I ever was in my entire life was literally my first like 6 months in the high ticket space and like really just like becoming a high performer in all these areas. So dude, I would just like take it and like enjoy the ride, man. Like absorb as much content as possible. Um, Again, that's if you really love what you're doing too. Eat, sleep, and breathe it. Realize like where do you want to be? Do you want to start your own business someday? Do you want to just be a beast closer who's always just printing, mid 6 figures a year for yourself? Do you really just want to like what exactly does it look like? Or are you learning these skills so you can go start a SaaS business someday? What is that? And then like, dude, your goals are always going to change, but like whatever your goal is now, just be like hungry as fuck and aggressive as fuck towards that goal. And it's gonna fulfill the shit out of you. And you're gonna learn so much in the meantime. Like, dude, like up until now, I've been really valuing, like for me, like my value wasn't to get the business to like $10 million. I'm like, my intention, if you actually read it like the beginning of this year, was like slow down, rebuild relationships, like, take care of my mental health. My mental health wasn't super great because I was going through a shit ton of transitions in life and like business and all these different things. I'm like, take care of my mental health, like you know, get back into better shape, start building strong relationships again. Because before then it was just literally work, work, work. I'm like, no, just like work your ass off this year. And then I was like, okay, Noah, really focus on life this year. Next year, I'm like, dude, if I am not like, if I cannot afford to buy whatever the fuck I want by the end of next year, like I have not hit my goal. Right. So like now I'm starting to ramp into that version of myself. Right. And like my goals are very different then. Like my goal is like I want to be able to buy a sports car, even though I don't need a sports car. I want to just be able to buy one when I want to. Right. Like so it's like and like walk in cash and just pay for the entire thing. Right. So like the big thing I would say is just like, dude, like find what your goal is and just go all in and think of like whatever you feel like you need to get ahead. If it's like, okay, in order for me to get to make more money and start getting closer to that, I need to get better at sales. What can I do? Start doing more role play with sales, right? Start doing more setter role play. Whatever it is, dude, like inside those communities, surround yourself with the people who will help pull you ahead and chat with those people and come up with strategies with those people to help each other get ahead. The biggest thing that has always helped me, and especially with like learning, is like, dude, just like what all people do in this industry is it's very easy to isolate because it's all online. But dude, if you think about like back in the day, dude, like, you know, business was always done in person. You'd go into somebody's office, you would shake their hand, you would sit down, you'd go out to lunch, you get dinner with them, you'd see the picture of their family on their desk, right? Like it's very different. Like now it's very easy to isolate, constantly surround yourself with people. Like, are you in like the serial sales community?
No, not yet. So that's my like safe goal right now.
Oh, cool. Awesome, man. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, they're great. You know, so like for example, like Dylan, who's like the head of serial sales. Jonathan, good to see you, brother. Thanks for hopping on. And you know, like even Dylan, like we grab dinner, like, you know, multiple days a week. Like we go out, we like, you know, we were just co-working, I think 2 days ago. Every Wednesday night I get a dinner with a bunch of guys who are all high ticket guys. You know, like I literally have calls in my calendar that are just like weekly recurring with just guys who I just want to check in with. If you look at my calls and text history, dude, like it's literally just make sure there's you know, nothing super personal on here. But yeah, it's literally, let's see. Yeah, it's like literally just like all a bunch of entrepreneur people that I'm just checking in with, just seeing how they're doing. Like, you know, like the big thing is, dude, it's just like just absorb as much as humanly possible. You're a sponge. You have so much shit to learn, and just take advantage of that.
Okay. And
Did
then
that was kind of a broad answer to it, though. Was there anything more specific that you were more like looking
no,
to get?
that was good. But just one other like kind of follow-up question. So like I know like offers can fall apart and things of that sort. Is it like how much should I like be keeping an eye out for like other offers and like just that like potentiality of like this could fall apart at any moment? Like I mean it's not like I know like I don't really even know what to like really look for to see like this looks like offers falling apart. But I've heard that from like different people, like, oh, my offer just fell apart overnight. Like how can I prepare for that?
Yeah, man, great question. So I would say um a few things regarding that. Like one, don't worry about making a shit ton of money right now. Focus on developing the skill.
Hmm.
Doesn't really matter what offer you're on. If the offer even sucks too, like, you know, you'll see what it looks like to work with really shitty people. Whatever offer you go in on, just give it your 110% effort. And if you're like, all right, dude, these like leads actually genuinely do suck. This offer sucks. This person sucks at fulfilling. Just start looking for a new offer. Right? Like it's very simple. Like, you know, if you feel like the clients are getting scammed as they come in, if the clients aren't great, or like, you know, you feel like the fulfillment's off, or people are leaving bad reviews, or you feel like you're seeing chargebacks and stuff like that. And like they don't have a reliable and consistent lead source, and the CEO is kind of checking out, even though they're not really making a lot of money. Those are all red flags. Right. But like in the meantime, dude, I wouldn't even worry about making a bunch of money. I would just like dial the fuck out of your skills. And like as a business owner, dude, like if I see that you're like, yeah, man, I was on a bad offer and a bad offer, like anytime I hear a setter say that they're on a bad offer, that's why they sucked. I literally am like, it's an immediate, I will not hire you. Right. Like I was talking to somebody even at an event recently in person, and they were a setter, and they're like, yeah, man, like you know, I'm like, oh, cool. So like, you know, what are you doing right now? He's like, I'm a setter. I'm like, cool. Like, what kind of offer you want? He's like, well, you know, I'm in between another offer right now. Is this on like 5 offers? And they all like really sucked. He's like, don't hold that against me. I know that's not a great thing to hear, but like, I'm like, no, dude, I am gonna hold that against you now, because like, you know, that's not good. But like if I talk to a setter and he's like, they're like, yeah, man, like I'm actually between offers right now. I've been in the space now for 6 months. I've been ripping a bunch of calls, been sending X amount of messages a day. I've been really trying to dial it in. A lot of the offers I was on just like weren't really validated anyway. And I was able to get some sets, but the closers were really struggling to close them. And I feel like there's, and taking accountability where you can be like, I could have probably improved like the grading criteria and stuff like that. But, like the effort was definitely there. There was just like a lot of things going on with the offer and marketing and stuff like that too. But, I really I was able to at least do this. I'm like, okay, this person's got good work ethic, right? Like the biggest thing is like, how do you present yourself? How do you carry yourself? And like, how convicted are you is like, and when you get in the right offer, you're going to give it your all. Right. Like for me, it's like, as a business owner who's worked with really fucking great offers and has seen the insides of really fucking shitty offers. Like, dude, I wouldn't, again, in the beginning, I literally would not focus on just like trying to make as much money as possible. I would just be like, dude, how do I become like the best setter ever? And then like your skills and conviction and confidence will just show through in every interview. And I've interviewed a shit ton of setters and closers. And I can just tell right in the first like minute, I'm like, all right, I'm going to give this person this person a shot, this person a shot, this person a shot. So yeah, man. Evan, great to see you, brother. Thanks for hopping on, man.
Thank you guys.
You as well, brother. See you in a bit. So Ismail, do you feel like that kind of helps, like based on where you're at right now? And like again, like the offer itself is like there's good offers and there's bad offers. There's good offers that turn bad offers. There's bad offers that turn good offers. Right. I wouldn't focus on the offer. I would just look at, okay, like again, educating yourself too. Like if you understand how marketing works and you really get that process, you'll tell if the company you're like, okay, this company's got really good leads and their marketing system is really solid. Like that's where it's like right now you're kind of going in every offer like this, right? Please work. Oh man, come on. You're gonna be crossing your fingers a lot, and that's fine, right? But like the big thing is as you develop up your skills, as you learn more about how different processes work, you'll be able to step into better offers and know how to take advantage of those.
No, that definitely answers it.
Oh yeah, man. Awesome.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Of course, man. Yeah. And again, like at the same time, try to make a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Try to.
I mean, my current offer it's pretty solid. I like it. I just, like not to. I guess it's almost like a bad thing to even think like things could fall apart, but it's just something to have. Like, it just got heard it so much that like, I'm just always like, what should I be looking out for?
Just because if it's falling apart too, like, try to see it through a bit, right? See what breaks when things do fall apart. Right, like as you're going into this offer, if you feel like it's starting to fall apart, like be like, okay, like what can I try to do to turn this around? Right, like, oh, the marketing leads are really bad, dude. You're the front line of defense. If you get to talk to all the leads as they come through, I would literally put together a report and say like, hey, here's all the people I talked to. Here's the most common objections. Marketing team, see what you can do with this. Maybe we can do better qualifying in the ads or forms or something. Right, like what a lot of setters or closers do is they just wait for like. They're just waiting like, sales are slowing down, and then they just hop to another offer. Which sure, if you're just trying to maximize for income, but if you're actually trying to learn the skills and like become a beast and like, dude, like the best, like if somebody doesn't understand how all the departments work in a business, like I am very hesitant to hire the person. Like if they're like an insane closer, like you put a deal in front of me, it's just gonna close. I'm like, okay, you ever work with marketing? Like, no, I stay out of that. I don't even try to talk to them. Like, I just stay in my lane and close. I'm like, you're a red flag, dude. Like, you know what I mean? But it's like if they're like, yeah, I know enough, I understand enough to, maybe not be lethal with it, but to understand what's actually going on and understand what's good marketing and bad marketing. But I really am focused on just like closing, and that's definitely more my wheelhouse. Like, you're a fucking rock star, right? So like, yeah, man. Like again, like you are so new and young in this industry. I would just learn just be a fucking sponge. Don't even worry, try to make money in the process too, for sure. Right. But at the same time, like just absorb as much as humanly possible. If you're on a good offer, be the best on that. Be the reason that offer makes more money. Right. And that's how you become invaluable too. Right. Like, and so that's the biggest piece of advice I have for you, man, is like not to start looking for an offer. It's like, dude, if the offer is even not doing great, stick with it. And see what breaks. Try to understand, be like, okay, so then next time you go to a new offer and you see that thing breaking, you either A, know how to fix it, or B, that's the time to get out of there. Right. So like in the beginning, bro, I was broke as fuck when I started in this industry. I was making $1,500 a month as a part-time copywriter. Like making no fucking money. And I was working they contracted me, I think 10 or 15 hours a week. Dude, I was working like 40, 50 hours a week in the beginning. So I just wanted to understand how absolutely everything worked. dude, like I was like, even when I was at my peak and like managing a massive client success team, dude, I was making like 67K a year. I was managing like a 13-person team, closing $600,000 of sales. My commissions were dog shit. But like I was like, dude, like I'm learning so much, I'm gonna stick through it. And then the day I left, I closed an 18K client. Like 2 pay, 9K, 9K. And it was like the easiest sale ever because he's like, dude, you know your shit. I'm literally just gonna pay you because I know your experience and I know you're gonna be able to help me fix my business. I don't even care about all the technicalities. I'm already sold on working with you because of how good you are. Right. And that's why too, we work with clients. People never come in and go, well, do you have any testimonials? Do you have any case studies? They're just like, dude, like we've seen what you do. Like we see the businesses that you touch. My friend talks about how amazing it is to work with you and how much you've changed his business. Right. So like that's the thing too. It's like, yeah, man, like this is where most people fuck up is they're just kind of waiting for something to break so they can just go off and make more money and make more money. And again, sure, dude, if your goal is like, let's say you need to save up and you need to move out of your house and you really want to like get out, save money, like try to just focus on printing money, whatever your goal is, align your actions towards it. But if you're in a position where you can learn, just learn, like just learn as much as possible. So I hope this was helpful. Maybe it's a slightly different answer than maybe you possibly expected, but I hope this was helpful for you. Of
No, that's good. I like that. I appreciate it.
course, man. Of course.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, man.
Of course, brother. Yeah, man. Do you have any questions? I know we're a bit over here on time, or about a minute over, but do you have any questions, Avery? I haven't heard from you or Burhan yet today.
I was walking around a little bit in the beginning, just listening in. Next time I'll bring some. But I love like everything I resonated with, and it helps me. So
Yeah, man. Yeah. Anytime you guys have questions, feel free to hit me up. And also too, if it's outside of the calls, and you always feel free to shoot me a DM too on Instagram or something too. Awesome. And Burhan, what about you, man?
I'm good. I was just listening in. Everything was like catered towards something I'd asked as well too, so it's good. Sure.
Okay. Sweet. Awesome, guys. So with that said, we can wrap up here. Guys, thanks for spending your Halloween with me.
Noah,
Yeah, what's up, man?
I did want to say, I think it would be super cool if you had a recorder in here, like Fireflies or something, so that we could go back. Because I would have loved to go back through some of the things you guys talked about when you and Jonathan were asking each other questions. Because you
Yeah.
guys just dropped some insane nuggets that I was able to write down, but I would have liked to go back.
For sure, man.
see.
Well, luckily for you, I record all these calls and I post them on
Oh
YouTube.
well, fuck
Yeah.
yeah. Then never mind.
So if you want to go to my Instagram, just go to my bio. I threw the link in, I think like 2 days ago. My YouTube link's in there. I'm posting all these. So there's been 3 so far. This is the 4th. All 3 of those are on YouTube. So you can go back and rewatch all of them.
Perfect.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Yeah. If you guys want to
Appreciate
like,
that.
subscribe, comment, and help boost
I'm
engagement.
subscribing right now.
Well, oh, hell yeah, man. Appreciate you. Oh,
Yeah,
let's go.
no, I appreciate you too. Thank you.
Awesome, guys. Yeah, no worries, guys. Thanks for hopping on today. Again, enjoy your Halloween. Go do something fun. Do when I watch scary movies with the fiance and probably ordering food and regret ordering food because that's all we've been doing for the past 3 months. But awesome, guys. Enjoy your Halloween.
Appreciate you. Know. Have a good one.
You too, fellas.